Hey everyone, it's Dr. Becky, Dementia Disruptor, with tips, tricks, and potentially painful truths about dementia. So today let's talk a little bit more about how memory changes with dementia. So we all are familiar with what we think of as memory loss, which is where we tell them something or something happens and it's gone. Like it was never truly seated in their brain for something to remember later. Or, over time, we forget people's names, we forget dates, we forget details. What we don't always talk about is how we can misremember. And the misremembering sometimes is equally, if not more, annoying for us working with people with memory loss than the actual loss of memory. So this could be they get their memories mixed up. I always equate it to pulling a necklace out of your jewelry box that's tangled with a bunch of other necklaces. You can see the beginning and end of different necklaces, but in the middle they all look the same, and you can't tell which end belongs to which beginning. So sometimes that's how our memories come out, is it starts off with this and it ends up someplace completely different, and you're like, that is not how that went. They might remember from a TV show or a movie. I worked in a memory care, and I had a gentleman, I'm walking through the hall, he grabs me by the arm and pulls me into his room. And I'm like, what is going on? And he's like, it's not safe out there. I was like, why isn't it safe? He said, there are lions and they're eating people. And I was like, oh my gosh. Well, I will be extra careful while I'm out there, and I will watch for those lions. And I went out and I asked the staff, I'm like, what the heck just happened there? Like, oh, we watched National Geographic last night about lions. And that imprinted in his brain, not the other memories that we want him to keep, but that stuck out in his mind. I've heard about people who, voracious readers, and they are recalling plot lines from books that they've read and telling them as if they're their personal stories. I worked with a gentleman who fired every other therapist and stuck with me mostly because I wasn't going to give in to his brouhaha. But anyway, and he wanted to tell his story. So I worked it in with the sessions of what I was supposed to be working on for him to tell his story. I wrote down every story that sounded completely plausible to me, who didn't know his life. When he passed on, I sent it to his daughter. She sent me a note back in about 30 minutes and said, Becky, none of those stories are true. I'm like, what? And when I went to his funeral, I heard the true stories, and he was close. He was on the right track, but they just kind of veered off a little bit into something that was not it at all. So these things happen with memory loss, and they're honestly more frustrating for us sometimes than even that true memory loss of, I don't remember your name. Because it's like you're trying to follow and you're trying to have a conversation and you're trying to do anything, and it's just not making sense and it's not flowing. And this is where sometimes we have to just sit back and go, Mom, I don't remember ever hearing that story. Or, oh, sweetie, I don't know if I was there with you for that. And they say, yes, you were. Like, I must not remember it. Good thing you remember it for me. Because arguing's not going to get us anywhere. Looking at them and saying, that is totally not how that went. I think that's a movie we watched last week. You can just say, oh my gosh, that sounds like I'm so glad you're safe in your room from these horrible lions. You stay safe, okay? I'll keep an eye out for the lions. Or, oh, that plane crashed and, oh, that's horrible. And we'll talk about why we don't want to watch movies like that anymore in dementia another time. But I think you're picking up on what I'm putting down here with that. So as much as it's frustrating, it's a fight that may not be worth having. It may not be worth your energy to correct and argue and try to get them where they're not going to go, because the memory is just, that's where we're pulling from and that's where it's going. So sometimes it's just rolling with the punches and saying, wow, I never knew that happened. I didn't know you were a spy in a war that you weren't alive for. That must have been something else. Tell me more. Because, again, there's no point in fighting. All right. So hopefully that helps a little bit with some of the wacky memory stuff. Just take a deep breath. If it's not hurting anybody, just let it go. It's not hurting anybody. It's just irritating us. And we have to pick which ones we're going to worry about and which ones we're not. Okay? And if it's worth a fight for you, then fight. If it's not, then don't. All right? All right. So, do all the things like follow, share, and just let things be that don't need to be fought. All right? All right. Have a great day.